Hello everyone, welcome to our sociolinguistic assignment. We will discuss about language attitude, which is presented by Rumaisa, Camilla, and Linda.
First, we have our table of content that include, firstly, giving a definition of attitude, its types. Then we move on into language attitude as a definition, its importance, the relation to learning language, the factors affecting language attitude. Finally, conclusion. But before we start in, there are some basic terminologies that our audience must understand to clarify our subject. The terminologies are language attitude, language learning. Language is the principal method of human communication consisting of words used in a structured and conventional way and conveyed by speech. Attitude is the form of mind, means how people's mind is shaped, the way of feeling and thinking. An attitude is an individual's way of looking on their point of view at something. Language attitude is related to what a person feels about the attitude object. That means the emotions that a person had towards a person or objects. Language learning, defined as developing the ability to communicate and refers to the practicing of different language, for example, learning English.
As you can see in this picture, that include different expressions and emotions. For example, emoji who is optimistic, who is depression, arrogant, or thinking, and so on. Those emojis can present people's attitude in our daily life. That at the end will lead us to the next step, which is that attitude contains three main types: positive attitude, negative attitude, and neutral attitude. Positive attitude means the positive state of mind that envision and expect a favorable result. For example, the person who thinks that everything will be okay and look and concentrate at the positive sides from the problems and obstacles. Negative attitude, when a person don't take goods of people or things in consideration. For example, a person who complains a lot and has such an amount of negative thinking. Neutral attitude means simply ignorance. It is the attitude of the person who literally don't care and prefer to ignore every single detail that disturbs his peace of mind.
And here we have three types of components. The first is a cognitive component. Cognitive component is a beliefs that are component of customer attitude. Cognitive component of attitude is associated with the value statement. The second is affective component. Affective component is the emotive component of customer attitude. It is associated with individuals' feeling about another person, which may be positive, negative, or neutral. Behavioral and is the final. Behavioral component is the intention in the behavioral component of consumer attitude. It is associated with the impact of various conditions or situations that lead to person's behavior based on cognitive and affective components.
As we know, negative attitude affects the negative thinkings. So here we are going to give you some, or help you, by the way, with giving some steps to have such a positive attitude. When faced with a negative thought, turn it around to make it into a positive thought. For example, I am not good at this could be changed to maybe this is not my strength, but I've tried my hardest and I am skilled in many other things. If what you planned for went wrong, believe that you have learned from the previous plan so that you will not repeat it again, and keep in your mind that even if you failed, you always get trying in consideration. Take responsibility for your actions, thoughts, and feelings. No one can make you feel any way that you do not want to feel, except that no one is perfect and includes you. Be proud of your accomplishments and the hard work you have done. Use the moments when you think you have not succeeded as learning experiences. And finally, take a close look at your life. Examine your daily routine and the effects it has on your life, and most importantly, your attitude. Alport said, attitude is a mental and neutral state of readiness, organized through experiences, exerting directive or dynamic influence upon individuals' response and to all objects and situations with which it is related. Some scholars and philosophers, like rationalists, began to reflect on language and its relation to the mind and or thinking, so that it becomes their central concern until they discovered and invented the item of language attitude. According to Crystal 1992, language attitudes are the feelings people have about their own language or the language of others. In brief, language attitude is all about what people think or feel about their own languages or other languages, which happens to be used in their life situations.
The method to study language attitude. Aristi and Fishman in 1970, in their journals entitled Language Attitude Studies, a brief survey of a methodological approach, summarized some useful methods that have been used for the study of language attitude to measure attitude towards the language and its speakers. There are two methods need to be applied: the direct method and the indirect one. The direct method is measuring language attitude by asking questions in an interview or by giving questionnaire to filling by some respondents. In the study, a direct approach was used to analyze language attitude. The interviewer asks questions, and the answers to those questions tell the interviewer directly about language preference. Indirect method is a method to measure someone's language attitude in the way that the participants are not aware that their attitudes are being measured. The most popular type is called matched guide. Researchers using this method conducted an experiment that asked their information to judge the personality of the speakers based on the recording they heard. Language attitude as the most important factor that impacts learning. Learner's positive attitude. Learner's positive attitude facilitates the learning process to allow to earn new language and knowledge. Means, if the student has such a positive attitude, that definitely will facilitate his learning process and allow him to earn a new language and knowledge. In other words, if the student maintains positive, this will make him more receptive to new ideas and thoughts and help him to improve himself more and obtain much skills. For example, a confident student takes advantage of every single opportunity to show his capacity and to improve his performance and his speech skills. The second is learner's negative attitude. Here, he creates obstacles in the learning process, which means, for example, jealousy. If the student saw someone else better than him, instead of taking this situation in a positive way, to work better or to get more better than him, he will directly envy him and be jealous without doing anything professional. Here, the negative thoughts will over him, so that will interfere with the learning process. Thus, the student will not be able to keep himself motivated towards achieving professional goals. The third is learner's neutral attitude. Here, do not care if they learn. Here, the same way student who has neutral attitude, who doesn't even care that will make him learn in 50%, which is insufficient and average level.
Now we are going to deal with the relation between language attitude and learning language. Daniel Katz's proposal of theories. The first one, classical condition. In attitude, language has a relation with learning language because when the person acts, the other can learn from him different behaviors or words and so on. For example, the child learns to respond to his parents with similar emotional reactions. In this case, simile are attitude, topic, and paternal emotions. The second one, instrumental conditioning. In instrumental conditioning, when people agree with your opinion, means attitudes followed by positive consequences, or the opposite. Observational learning is considered with the emotions of others' behavior. For example, a child, when he sees his mother kicking cats, he may repeat it again and again. The final one is cognitive dissonance theory, which means when someone's attitude can change our mind and decide that we are wrong. For example, if a girl, she's not satisfied about the thing, so her friend changed his mind.
So here we have the importance of language attitude. So the language attitude has such a very important role because it is a bridge that shows us our destination and results. It's essential to know how each of the components and each type of attitude to have the ability to succeed in learning process or in other domains in life, even communication and gain friends and so on, and to give a great value to the positive one and to try to get it and change the neutral or the negative one too. Moving on
To the factors influencing language attitude. We may have also some factors that can influence or affect language attitude. There are some factors that are mentioned. Yazi believes that language preferences at the macro level can be influenced by social factors or individual differences. On the one hand, in a society or community, it can be a general attitude towards the language or learning a foreign language. On the other hand, individuals in a society might have a specific attitude towards language. Other factors that can affect language attitude included in the macro factors include historical factors, sociocultural factor, language prestige and power, political factor, economic factor, religion, ethnicity, language policy, occupation, social class, and language policy. Here are some of the factors to have a better idea or to understand more this point, and to clarify how these aspects can affect language attitude. These steps are historical factor, sociocultural factor, political factor, and then religion. Historical factors. Historical factors are one of the factors that influence people's attitude towards the language or language variety. According to Juvrianto, in 2016, some people in the Middle East may not want to learn English because they know from their history to Western are colonialist.
Contemporary disputes between Western and Arab Muslims. Cultures are further intensified this point of view. Past events can influence attitude towards a language or language variant. This can be positive or negative. Curiously, a person with a terrible experience who swore not to associate with a particular culture also had a negative attitude toward the language. This is due to the fact that past events and occurrence influence the present of since, and since attitude towards language is a reflection of attitude from the speaker to the language towards the language.
Here we have a subcultural factor. Language is associated with great cultural values, norms, and beliefs. Evoke a positive attitude towards people language. Yoruba, for example, is a honorific praise for people who are better than anyone else because of this rich culture. And people seem to love Yoruba. For example, in Yoruba for adults, use the second person plural eyin. Similarly, languages that have a significant social impact on people influence a positive attitude. Some Nigerians will say they hate English just because it doesn't respect their status or status in their language. This kind of attitude is based on the fact that those people consider English to be a language that is not culturally rich.
Political factor. Language with a great political influence and power fascinating people. Based on the truth that people love power and politics, some languages such as French, English, Spanish, and German have great political advantages in many countries.
Juvrianto 2016, a lot of people learn language because of politics. Here we have a religion. So languages associated with a particular religion evoke a positive attitude towards people. Muslims always show a positive attitude towards Arabic. It is considered the language of the Holy Quran and is the language understood by Allah God. Catholics show a positive attitude towards Latin because it is the language of the Roman Catholic Church. So every person will react positively on his own religion, since it is something that they believe, and also because it is something they grown up with.
In conclusion, to conclude this topic, as you can see, it reviewed several and different points of language attitude, its importance and its factor on learning, and its types and how some factors can affect language attitude. For sociolinguistics, language attitude is an interesting
phenomena study. So, as stated by Edward 1994, the concept of attitude cornerstone of traditional social psychology is not one about which there has been universal agreement. At a general level, however, attitude is a disposition to react favorably or unfavorably to a class of objects. This attitude is disposition to react is often taken to comprise three components: feeling, affective element, thoughts, cognitive element, and following upon these predispositions to act in a certain way, behavioral element. That is, one knows or believes something, has some emotional reaction to it, and therefore may be assumed to act on this basis. So, thank you for watching.
I hope you enjoyed and learned something new.